Hello, scholars. Thank you for coming to my reading of The Journey of Little Charlie by Christopher Paul Curtis. A journey is called that because you cannot know what you will discover on the journey, what you will do, what you will find, or what you find will do to you. James Baldwin. Setting just outside of Passamoan, South Carolina, August 1858. Chapter 1. The Best Critter God Made. I'd sent plenty of animals by the time I was old enough to start talking, but only one kind worked me up so much that it pulled the first real word I said out my mouth. And according to the only folks who was there to witness the whole fuss, the word kept tumbling out of me over and over for more than half a day, long enough for Mom Pop to wonder if I'd banged my head on something and got touched, long enough for him to start looking round for something to tie across my mouth to hush me up. I don't know what it was about this critter that riled me up so, 'cause when you hold it up next to other animals, there ain't that much that's spectacular about it. It ain't nowhere near as big as a bar, and it can't knock the biggest, strongest man down with one swipe. It ain't nowhere near sly nor quick as a cat. It ain't no good at all at mousing nor catching hold of birds without a lot of help. And it ain't got nothing as bad as reputation as a snake. It don't get nowhere near the amount of talking about in the Bible that snakes do. I'd seen all them critters and plenty more, but it wasn't till Pop said the puppy that grew up to be Pinky next to me in the dirt of the front yard that I said dog. I guess I'd done more than just say it. It's thought that I screamed, dog, 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 dog. Pop tells me, little Charlie, neither you nor the pup hadn't showed signs of being nothing but dour and gloomish. But when we put you one next to the other, well, sir, it was though someone struck a flint on gunpowder. Sparks flew, y'all both made noises that neither pup nor babe had ever made afore, all the while rolling and laughing in the dust, then like y'all had a talk about it and took a vote, tore off in them woods together, which was shocking. Ma and Pa said, since I hadn't even started crawling proper, Ma tells me, we was worried sick about you, Charlie. Why, if I had a penny for each person what asked me if you was a dimwit, I'd be rich as George Washington. I don't know how many times I had to tell folks you was just a babe and not 5 or 6 years old, that was why you wasn't walking or talking. I figured the real reason was I hadn't seen nothing worth talking about till I seen Pinky, and nothing worth getting up and chasing after till that particular minute neither. Ma said the way I chased after that puppy brought to mind this contraption she'd seen at a fair in the city of Charlestown when she was a girl. A automaton, she called it. 'Twas one half fancy pocket watch, one half tin can, and one half little boy, and it moved just as stiff and wobblish as you done running after that puppy, Charlie. I don't remember doing the talking, but the picture of that wiggling, squirming, wet tongue, fat ball of fuzzing and fur is in my head so strong that it's something I'm a be pondering about for the rest of my days. And I'm a real big ponderer. When me and Ma is working the fields and the time's dragging, I learn to make myself think on things so's I won't go dim with it. I seen what's happened to Ma, how she keep on chopping or digging or weeding without doing no thinking. I seen how if you keep working without doing no thinking in the field, it come a bad habit and you can't help but do it elsewhere too. We look at it different. She says the best way to get through work in the fields is to make her head be still and quiet as a pond. I want mine to be a river crashing through a waterfall. I got to be thinking about something or else my head'll pop. That's how I figured out why dogs has worked their way so far neath my skin. Now that I'm older and had lots of chances to see and be around other critters, I think it come down to the eyes. At that first meeting up with Pinky, neither one of us couldn't talk, but we traded looks and both seen something one in the other. When I looked in that puppy's eyes, I seen myself looking back. Sure as if her eyes was mirrors or a couple of shined up silver cups. Not just the flexion of me, but something that said, this here critter knows you. And I knowed when she was looking in my eyes, she seen the same exact thing. It didn't take but a half a second, but that looks what got us both to converting and carrying on so. And that's a look that no animal other than a dog has ever given me since. No other animal, and not very many people neither. Stanky, whose ma was Pinky, had given birth to a litter of 6 pups, and they all lived. After they was actually 49 days old, Pop said me and him had to look him over to see if there was a hunting dog in the bunch. Pop told me a good dog is the same as a good person. They're born that way, not made. Ain't no silk purse ever been made out of a soul's ear. The pups were squirming and sliding over one another, carrying on something fierce, nipping at anything that moved, not caring if they was biting their brother or sister or even their own selves. Just looking to get any kind of puppy meat that they could in them sharp, pinched teeth. All their antics was first-rate nonsense to me. I'd ask Pop, but how can you tell if they's gonna be any good hunting when they's acting so cultish and foolish, Pop? There's a couple ways we do it. Pop brung one the wood crates out the shed and set it on the forest floor behind the cabin. Then we brung Pops and put them inside the crate. They were still so small that they had plenty room to move about. Pop said, I'm thinking it's that black one with the white spot on her tail. We'll see how good my eye is. I couldn't let Pop know, but that one's name was Ashes. When the pups had been first born, Pop got vexed with me once I started naming them. I couldn't understand why, but he made me stop. I named them anyway and kept it to myself. Keep a sharp eye on them and tell me what you see. Pop had gone to the shed and brung out 4 of his bullets and his pistol. He kept them hid under the floorboards, wrapped up in a fancy piece of thick purple curtain that had beautiful gold tassels sewed on alongside the fringe. The curtain was well known throughout all of South Carolina. It was so fancy 'cause Ma had bought it off a woman who is the cousin of George Washington. The woman told Ma that George gave a whole set of them to his wife, Martha, for her birthday, and Martha got vexed, saying George had gone cheap on her, paying only $500 instead of the $5,000 she was accustomed to having spent on her. She couldn't bend having nothing so common in her home and sold the curtains to George's cousin for next to nothing. Ma had told me that meeting the woman was a sign that the luck of the Bobos was changing. She said in life there was good luck followed by no luck, followed by bad luck, followed by tragical luck, followed by the luck of the Bobos. Pop reached in the crate and pulled out the first of the pup's ashes. He flipped her on her back and held her down by her belly. She squirmed for a second, then sat still. Pop kept her pinned down. After a bit, she began tussling to get set free, even biting at Pop's hand. Pop shook his head and smiled. He'd done the same with each of the rest of the pups. Some of them fought like badgers to get up soon as they was flipped. Some of them just lay there waiting to see what was gonna happen. Curly and Nippy done the same as Ashes. Pop put them all back in the crate and unwrapped the pistol out the curtain. He loaded it up with 4 bullets and raised it over his head. I covered my ears. Pop pulled the trigger and the forest shook from the boom. Me and all 6 of them pups flinched. Pop waited a second, then fired the next 3 bullets fast. Sagebrush, Old Thunder, and Squalene kept on flinching with each shot that come, then pressed themselves into the corners of the crate, whining and spinning in circles. Ashes, Curly, and Nippy was different. They come to tension after that first flinch and was staring up at the gun with their front legs stiff as stone and their chests all bowed out and their eyes burning. Their ears was perked up. Instead of being scared by the noise, they was looking for more of it. These was the same 3 that stayed still at first when Pop flipped them, but soon tired of the whole thing and fought. Ashes was even making a huffing sound as though she wanted to bark, but wasn't sure if she should. I said to comfort in the scared puppies, I didn't want Pop to know I'd disobeyed his orders, so instead of using their proper names, I didn't say nothing more than, "It's all right, little pup," and there, girl. Pop laughed and shouted, "Man alive, that old dog done birthed 3 hunters. Come on, boy, don't tell your ma, but once they's growed and I gets them trained, she gonna be getting a store-bought dress, and you's gonna be getting some proper shoes. 3 hunters out of 1 litter. We'll keep one of them, and you get to decide which." I didn't let another second get by. I said, "We'll keep the one with the white tip tail." Pop didn't suspect nothing. I said, "And I'm gonna call her Ashes," which only made sense since that was already her name. Pop roughed up Stanky's neck and said, "What a dog." The next day when me and Ma come out the field toward dusk, I was washing off at the pump. Soon she sees me, Stanky starts up doing something she ain't never done before. She's gets to whining and rubbing herself against my legs, acting cattish. I pushed off twice. Then on the 3rd time, I was fixing to give her a good swat, but I seen how upset she was, so I held up. What come to mind was that one of the pups must have got sick or maybe even died without drying off or nothing. I went round back of the shed to see if that's what got Stanky so jumpy. I looked down in the crate where she kept him and couldn't believe my eyes. Only Ashes, Nippy, and Curly jumped up to give me greetings. Sagebrush, Old Thunder, and Squalene wasn't nowhere to be seen. I looked to the woods and whistled for him, but nobody answered. "Where they at, Stanky?" She kept looking at me all pitiful, whining and sniffing at the crate. I told Ma. She cut her eyes and said, "They probably done run off, Charlie, or maybe they was sick and Stanky took him out in the forest to let nature have her way. I don't know, son. There's other things to fret about. Let me scare something up for you to eat." And even though I had my suspicions about that really happened to them 3 pups that had flinched with every shot, first thing after I woke up for 2 weeks straight, before I went off to the fields, I'd stand behind the cabin and try whistling them up and calling them home. I guess it ain't no doubt I'm a bobo. I didn't have no luck at all.